Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I'd like to invite the speaker, Mr. Srihari Kotela, who will talk about specializing in digital food safety, on-farm production, and post-harvest processing. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. And I am Srihari Kotela, founder, Global Academy for Food Safety and Sustainability Standards, an initiative of Krishigap Digital Solutions Private Limited. Our company was formed in year 2023, and our vision is leading India's rise as a global leader in safe, sustainable, and certified food systems. And recently, we are selected as Export Enabling Technologies Service Provider under Rapidas Bharati Hub for the Agri-Tech Export Innovation, an initiative by the Ministry of Commerce. And ours is the only organization among the standards implementation service providers over other players selected. And if you see, the whole concept of this standards applies to the food chain, the whole food chain, that is starting from farm to plate. So this starts actually from input suppliers. See, the input to the farm is the most important factor that can assure either safe or unsafe food to the ultimately to the consumers. So that is why the selection of right and approved quality inputs by the farmers is most important factor for ensuring the food safety throughout the supply chain. Once the inputs identified, then it goes to the farmers. They are called primary food producers. Then once the produce is harvested, it has to be transported. Again, there are standards related to the transportation because any contaminants that may affect in the transportation also affect the food safety. Then it goes to packing or storage facilities. There are certain standards to be complied with storage facilities and also the packing facilities. There are certain standards to comply with so that the chain moves on with the safe food. Then it goes to the food processors. Then there are certain standards to be complied by the food processors for ensuring the safe food. Then from there it goes to the wholesalers. And again, the wholesalers also, they have to keep up some recommended practices for ensuring the safety of the food being sold to the consumers. So it is very, very important the multinational retailers and all the premium outlets, they focus on the whole supply chain. Suppose you are a food processor, first question will come, how you are procuring the your raw materials, from whom you are procuring, and what are the standards they are complying before they supply to your organization. So that is why all the premium food handlers, they focus on food chain concept. And if you look at export value chain integration, it starts from farm gate, then the post-harvest, processing, quality, documentation, and buyer. Quality here means related to the standards. So within this export value chain, key stakeholders have farmer produce organizations, processors, packers, exporters, and buyers. So our Global Academy also has brought out the Trace Audit digital compliance platform connecting all these suppliers. See, what are the problems being faced by the farmers organization or food processors or the organizations within the food supply chain in implementation of the standards? See, one is India now planning ambition to achieve 100 billion in agri exports by 2030, but constrained at the farm gate due to the absence of scalable infrastructure for implementing global food safety standards. So they have put very high target of achieving 100 billion, but the problem coming here, implementation of these globally recognized food standards at various levels, from farm to consumer, as I explained earlier. Then, while demand for certified food is rapidly rising in domestic and global markets, farmers and supply chain stakeholders lack the systems, skills, and implementation support required to comply with these standards. That is the major, another challenge being faced is skills and implementation support infrastructure is not adequately available to support the production of safe food and achieving the 100 billion export target. So another challenge is standard setting and certification bodies do not provide implementation support due to conflict of interest. So this is leaving a big gap actually. You see, the certification bodies who are authorized to inspect and certify the farmers organizations or the food processors or the standard publishers cannot provide implementation support. They can only provide generic training, not any guidance on the documentation and what are the records required to implement that. So this is another challenge being faced in the system. So all this results in limited market access, low price realization, and growing trust deficit due to poor traceability. See, because if you don't implement the standard, then question of traceability arises. If the traceability is a deficit, then buyers becoming aware of these and they don't offer a good price. So that all results in low price realization and limited market access. What we are offering, our solution is we have nearly 5 verticals. One is a digital learning platform, that is EdTech model, that is both self-paced, presently covering 28 standards, and expert-led training, that's customized project. Because we have come out, you see, nowadays, traveling far areas and a lot of expenses being incurred, travel and stay expenses, and many of the experts, they don't want to go to rural areas. So all these challenges is coming up when it goes into the rural areas. So the best approach is, okay, we have self-faced, the trained trainers, master trainers, they can go to the courses, particularly say IndiGap standard or Global Gap standard or ISO 22000 food safety standard, how to implement, what are the documents required. They can see the quality manual, procedures, records and all, so that they will have an idea how to put up the documentation. Standard implementation is nothing but putting up the quality management system documentation and implementing as per the requirements of the documentation. So another, this one, what we are doing is, if some organizations, governments asks us to provide expert-led training digitally, that is also we are doing it. So we engage experts and over Zoom call, we train the agri extension officials and the quality professionals. We also take up customized project. Then the second concept is model farms with standard compliances. Particularly on-farm production related standards, if we select one farm of within the FPO or a corporate company and see that the standard is physically implemented there, that means all the documentation and records, what are all available for implementation is available, so that this can act as a center of excellence for other farmers to come and see how the standard can be implemented on the farm, so that they will have a clear eyesight on what is happening on the farm and seeing believing concept, so that they can go and do it at their farms. So that is the best way of scaling up the implementation of the on-farm production standards. Then there is a trace audit platform. See, most important is digitization of this standard implementation is very, very important. What happens if it is say a food processor or a farmer organization, if the quality manager leave the organization in the middle, then the whole problem of retrieving the documentation, understanding it, and demonstrating to the certification bodies when they come for audit is becoming a very big challenge. So the most, particularly for small and medium enterprises, it is very important to see that the whole standard implementation is digitized. So we have come out with a trace audit platform to digitize. Then market linkages for certified food. So most of the buyers and companies, they ask us who are the farmers organizations or food processors certified under food safety standards, so that they can come direct in contact with those certified organizations. So the next concept is suppliers compliance and validation. Suppose if buyer wants how that FPO or a food processor implemented the standards, can you validate it? So we also do that validation. So what are the standards covered across the food supply chain? So these are the standards identified for each of the sectors. First, coming to the on-farm production. So on-farm production, these are the standards which are in conformance with the international standard 17065. That is in India now, India Good Agriculture Practices Certification Scheme, launched by Quality Council of India under the Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, and it is specific to Indian practices, but adopting the global practices integrated. Then there is a global gap, which is a scheme initiated in the European Union, and presently this certificate, global gap certificate, is accepted almost in over 100 countries. So many premium buyers, they want global gap certification covering fresh fruits and vegetables or any other agriculture commodity. This is a very premium standard, and the price realization almost will be 50 to 60% higher than the normal product. There is another organic NPOP 2024 recently launched by APIDA. This is an organic certification, external certification this is. So this is recognized except in the United States. Other countries recognize this NPOP organic certification. PGS is specific to India. This is internal self-inspections, but this is only for the domestic market. And USDA NOP is organic again. Those who exports as organic to US must get certified under NOP, National Program on Organic. So this is a US standard. Then recently announced by Government of India, 5th June, they released a natural farming standard. And there is a Rainforest Alliance. This is again an American standard. If you see the Starbucks, whatever the inputs they use, you can see the Rainforest Alliance logo on that. So those who are certified under Rainforest Alliance, they get very good premium price. Then the medicinal plant certification scheme launched by National Medicinal Plant Board, Ministry of Ayush, under Government of India program to supply quality medicinal plants to the processing industry. Now this is actually on farm once the harvest is over. Next question comes post-harvesting standards. These are related to the processing of the food produced at the farm level. For most important standard recognized is ISO 22000 Food Safety Management System. This is released by International Organization for Standardization based in Geneva, and this standard is accepted by over 160 countries. And FSSC 22000 is actually a Netherlands-based standard, and some of the retailers, they in Europe, they want this standard in addition to ISO 22000 for procurement of processed foods. And another is BRCGS Global Food Safety. This is a British standard. This is also globally accepted as a safe food. So some people, they want maybe ISO 22000, some people wanted BRCG, depending upon the customer requirements. And there is another standard BRCGS packaging material, because packaging material also plays an important role in food safety program of a food processor. So there is a standard, then HACCP is there, then a generic ISO 9001 standard. Now sustainability standards, ISO 14001 environmental management system. Then these are all international standards. Coming to India, FSSAI regulations. So you have FSSAI, Food Safety Standards Authority of India. You have a specific general manufacturing, fruits and vegetables, spices, milk production, catering, storage, and warehouses. So there are other courses available is ISO 19011 auditing principles, food safety related requirement, food hygiene requirement. There is a chain of custody, agrobiodiversity, GRASP. Any exporter, say from India, must comply both with the domestic regulations and also with the importing countries' regulations. So here domestic regulations FSSAI, and if you are exporting to UK, you must also fulfill the importing regulations of the United Kingdom. So these are the standards required by your buyers, your retailers, your food processing companies. If they want to export, where are you certified to 22,000 in case of food processing? In case of exports, they ask whether you are Global Gap certified, organic certified. So these are the various standards covering across the food supply chain. See, what is the documentation involved in the implementation of the standard? So as an organization simply going for the initial certification, first thing what he must do is keep the applicable standard. That means suppose if you want to go for ISO 22000, keep the copy of the standard, and also what are the domestic FSSAI Food Safety Authority regulations covering your scope of the product. Then second is you must develop a small business plan. So how you are going to market? Is it going to be a domestic market? Is it going to be a premium market? Is it going to be an export market? So once you decide, you have a clear idea of what that market you are targeting. The market you are targeting, whether premium market, whether the medium market, like that. Once you think of, say, premium market or export, then you must immediately look for what standard is required in the export market. Then you have to come out with a process flow chart of all processes and activities. How each process is carried out and what are the activities from beginning to the end, so that you know exactly what are various overall process activities required for production of your food. Then identify key personnel, roles and responsibilities for each of these processes. You see, suppose storage is a one process, raw material storage or finished product. Then who are the responsible for that? What role they have to play? So you have to identify. Similarly, drying, and that is a process. Who are the people? So you have to define that. First, define the process and activities. Then identify the key personnel with right qualifications and experience, and assign them roles and responsibilities. Then identify what are the resources for operationalizing these processes. Once you identify what are the resources required, resources in the sense means it is infrastructure resources, it is a civil works related, or human resource related, or infrastructure, it all can come under the resources. Once these are done, then for you easy to develop a quality manual and procedures as required by the standard. Example, if you want to implement ISO 22000, for export or supplying the domestic premium market, then develop quality manual and procedures as required by that particular standard ISO 22000. Then develop record template to document the data as per the standard. So you have to see, once you start implementing the standard, the minimum requirement is capturing the data as per the requirements of the standard requirements of various processes. You have to first document the template and then document the data of the processes. So these are again as per the requirements of the standard. Then once you do it, digitization of all the documentation so that retrieval of information, demonstration of your conformance, all can go smoothly. Who are the targeted customers? Farmers organization, food processors, exporters and importers, food retailers and supply chain entities, quality assurance and food safety professionals, agricultural extension service providers, students and academic institutions. Because they must understand what are various food safety standards available. Students also in food sciences and agriculture must know that these are the various standards available for the production of safe, hygiene, and quality food. See, India is a huge potential in terms of agricultural and processed foods. You see, we are the second largest holder of arable land, 10% of world's food production, 46 of 50 global soil types are the categories. We are number one in production of spices, pulses, milk, jute, rice, cashew, tea, wheat. And number two, coming to sugarcane, cotton, groundnut, fruits, and vegetables. Despite potential exports remain limited due to inadequate alignment with international standards. Because we are not able to export because we are not aligned with the international standards. So India held 2.5% of global agricultural trade in 23-24. Total agri-food exports only 48 billion. You see, when you think of number 1 and 2 in many categories, but your share in global agriculture trade is only 2.5%. And recently, because of this FTAs, processed foods, because agricultural commodities, we have some restrictions, but processed foods, a huge opportunity, that is FTAs to give farmer greater market access. India's FTA with the UAE, UK, Australia, EFTA and other countries will help domestic farmers and also small and medium food enterprises with greater market access. Standard compliance is key to premium markets and last winter. Very important. If you want to export to European Union, Japan, or South Korea, or US, and developed countries, most important factor is, have you implemented the applicable standard for the scope? And the global market opportunity. See, these food safety and sustainability standards, such as USDA, USFDA, or ISO standards, are globally harmonized in both content and intent and recognized. See, these standards across, suppose if you take ISO 22000, all 160 plus countries, the same language, same content, and the same intent. Only the change will be local regulations. Local regulations will be the change. Otherwise, almost 90 to 95% of the standard in any of these countries remains the same. And this ISO 22000 example adopted by over 165 countries to the International Organization for Standardization. These standards ensure the safety and quality of food products across domestic and international markets. With growing demand for safe, certified, and export-ready food, global compliance standards are now seen as essential for market access, consumer trust, and regulatory alignment, creating a multi-billion-dollar opportunity for scalable training, compliance, and digital implementation solutions. See, compliance is not just about certification. it is a passport to premium markets and higher income. See, you have to be something unique. The major income realization comes only when you are certified and supplying to the premium market. Then your price realization automatically goes up beyond 25% over and above your normal price. So this standards will unlock premium markets, earn better prices, build lasting trust with the buyers. So standards are not barriers, they are your breakthrough. Make compliance central to your strategy and transformation will naturally follow. And some of the examples, example I am quoting that one of the good agriculture certification scheme, which is recognized an international standard 17065. What are the things they are implementing the farmer or FPO has to address? Example, site history and site management, workers' health, safety and welfare, waste and pollution management, environment and conservation, food traceability, segregation, non-conforming products, plant nutrition management, integrated pest management, plant protection products, produce handling, and record keeping, the complaints, withdrawals. So these are the main requirements. Each clause, you see the beauty of the standard, particularly farmer related, it also provide you the how to implement this particular clause. Specifically, it will also give guidance. So all the standards can be implementable. See, if a standard is not being implementable, then no standard can survive. So any standard that is being developed, they keep in mind how practically it can be implemented and how practically a user can understand. This is tangible benefits and implementation of standards, market access to premium buyers, higher income, and improved practices and productivity. See, our experience is the standard implementation, if sincerely an organization implement the standard, whether it is at farm level or processing level, reduction in cost of expenses, reduction in cost of inputs, almost 10 to 12% will come down. And reduction quality of the produce improves. Then productivity improves almost 10 to 12%. So these are the results captured when implemented by big organizations at various levels of the farms. This model farm concept, what I was talking, model farms are set up on existing farms where the FPO organization owns the land and manages the farm operations. And model farms, what we do, skill development on the standards, on-farm implementation and demonstration, deployment of cost-effective precision farming tools. See, if a farmer comes and see how the this farm layout is done, how the storage of plant production products is done, and how the risk areas are identified, how the traceability of the trees are identified. If they physically see on the farm, it catches their mind. So that is the only way of scaling up the farm-related standards in India, because of very, very low awareness of these standard requirements by the rural farmers. And this model farms hands-on learning that drives adoption. Farmers and FP gain first-hand experience of implementing food safety and sustainability standards. Live classroom format ensure active participation, scalable capacity building, and real-time validation of impact. And we have almost 700 plus personnel trained. Various governmental organizations and private organizations are getting training from us. And agri-actions officials from multiple states. We have almost covered many of the states. And the impact building grassroots capacity in food safety sustainability across 10 plus Indian states. And this is how, if any organization wants to go for such a standard implementation, this is the requirement. First, application, signing of contract, and implementation minimum 3 months evidence of implementation or one crop cycle in case of on-farm production standard. Then conducting producer group quality management system audit. If any non-conformances are there, submission of corrective actions, review and approval by CB. And if all the confirmed, then certificate is granted valid for 1 year in case of on-farm production standards, and in case of post-harvest, mostly for 3 years, with a renewable surveillances every year. And once the certified, the certificate will come like this. These are what credibility gives to the organization. If buyer sees, yes, the prominent organization involved in the whole certification process, then that will attract the buyers. And in case of farmer organization, who are the farmers covered under that FPO also will be listed in the certificate. And we have presently 7 eminent advisory board members, 8 standard subject experts, and 20 product value chain experts. Basically, I am heading the organization. These are our advisory board members. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Srihari, for the presentation. Now we'll take up some questions. So the question is, how can digital tools help ensure food safety from farm to consumer?
No, digital tools, for example, you see when you apply the plant production products, these plant production products, how much quantity you have applied, on what date you have applied, all can be captured into that. So that will give you the monitoring exactly on what dates you have applied, whether these are permittable limits and all, you can monitor and track through that digital tools. And even plant nutrition management. And there is a mass balance register called example, how much of produce is harvested, how much percentage of wastage, and what is stored, what is sold, what is the balance left. Because that is very, very important in understanding whether you have marketed the certified food or you have also marketed the non-certified food claiming that it is a certified food. And another digital tool like Trace Audit, you can demonstrate your implementation complete. What is your quality manual, your residue analysis report, and your internal inspection reports. So somebody in UK, buyer also can go through that your systems and gets credibility. See, the first issue comes whether the person really implemented or he simply paid some money, got the certificate. So through digital means, if you demonstrate, he gets full confidence and credibility into the system. So this all so that the digitization plays a major role actually.
Okay. And next question is, what technologies are used for traceability and quality monitoring in agriculture?
Yeah. Technologies used in traceability is main documentation. Documentation right from the inputs and inputs, right from the inputs, identification of that batches and identification of, like suppose example, if you say one farmer organization has say 10 farmers who implemented. So each farmer you have to give identification, and whatever you are procuring from that farmer has to be tagged, and this has to be captured. And from 10 farmers, you have to capture the 10 information from how much each farmer you procured, on what dates, where it is stored, and even storage identification. And when you are transporting also, this is to be showcased. So throughout the supply chain, traceability has to be ensured to see, because the reason is, if suppose say out of 10 farmers, one farmer has sprayed banned chemical example, then what happens if there is no traceability? All 10 farmers gets affected. If the farmer here who used that banned product can be easily identified, because from where it has come, when it has come, where it is stored, how it moved from storage to the consumer. So
Okay.
this may be monitored through technology also, no, because of the digitization.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So next question is, how can farmers adopt digital food safety practices at the farm level?
Yeah, you see, most important at farmer level is uh, the maintenance of the farm records. Farm records means, example, plant protection products usage. You have to document it. Standard requires some of the requirements, how much of quantity you have used, what is the brand, what is the technical name. So from the standard, you have to capture and prepare a template for the plant protection products usage template. Similarly, seed record template. Similarly, plant nutrition application record. Similarly, harvest records. So these are the biggest challenge coming to the farmers is how to prepare that template. Because if you don't prepare the template as per the standard requirement, then when certification body comes, it becomes a non-conformance. Then it becomes a challenge to be addressed. So what we did, each standard wise, what are the important template of farmers records to be maintained, we have documented. So suppose if a grape farmer is there, what are the records to be maintained, all available in our platform, so that he can take the printout, and whatever he applies, he must fill up that records. So another thing is, there are some risk assessment like soil test reports, water test reports, what are the parameters. So these all we have prepared and put in our portal, available under the courses. So that is a major challenge in implementation. See, if you look for consultants, they are becoming very expensive. The other problem is, even the consultants are not aware of the full requirements of the standard. And so that way, a lot of implementation challenges coming up. So what is most important is have the right records, right documentation. That will solve you 90% of the implementation of standard requirement. So farmers, what is most important, implementing global standard, global gap. Then we have all the records for global gap requirements to be implemented by the farmer. If they can use that, then that is conforming to standard. When CB comes, they can demonstrate.
Okay. Next question is, what role do sensors and data systems play in post-harvest handling and storage?
Yeah, my main is this moisture measurement sensors, main moisture measurement, and this contamination related, the sensors, then temperature related, very important, particularly for horticulture product. Shelf life is most critical part of it. If shelf life of the product is not properly monitored, and if right temperature is not maintained, lot of wastages and loss of inventory also will come. So that is why sensors play a very important role in coming out with moisture levels, coming out with the temperature measurements level, and coming out with spoiled products and all. So the sensors play a critical role, particularly after post-harvest of the produce.
Right. Okay. And how can digital solutions help in reducing contamination and post-harvest losses?
Yeah, contamination in post-harvest losses, that is main is measuring See, once you have actually harvested, the standard specifically say if it is Indigap or Global Gap, handling the post-harvested produce, there are several clauses are there. If you implement those requirements, and that will take care of reducing the contaminants and reducing the wastages. So there are certain clauses identified for post-harvest management. If you follow those post-harvest management practices as defined in the whether IndiGap certification scheme or Global Gap certification scheme or NPOP 2024, you can substantially reduce the contaminants.
Okay. And what are the costs and benefits of implementing digital food safety systems?
Yeah. Cost of implementation, you see, suppose if it is a farmer level, suppose if it is IndiGap certification, say one FPO with 100 farmers, one FPO with 100 farmers, the IndiGap certification aspect will cost approximately 50 to 60,000 rupees total cost. If it is residue analysis testing and all, say it will go up to residue testing and all 1 lakh. That means average per farmer, it will cost around 1,000 rupees in case of certification. If it is a global gap certification, it will cost almost three times of that, 3 to 5 lakh rupees because of the registration charges, because that is European standard. So that will cost almost 5,000 rupees per farmer. But here the advantage is you get very good price. You see, that all will compensated. Whatever you get to say global gap certification, your expenditure and what is that you are going to realize will be only just 20% will be your expenditure, 15 to 20%. If it is IndiGap, even if it is say 10% to 5% expenditure. So implementation part, if example, if they go through our global food safety standards, our portal globalfoodstandards.in, then we have put actually 500 rupees only course fees. They can go through the entire quality manual, how to prepare, what is the content of quality manual, procedures, farmers records, everything available because digitally. It is very less expensive. Your people are trained means hardly 5 to 10,000 rupees expenses will be there in implementation, say for the IndiGap. If it is ISO 22,000 also, implementation, if a person in quality, having good work experience in food processing and is a graduate, he can understand these things and company can self-prepare without engaging the consultant. And ISO 22,000 for a small, medium food enterprise, it will cost around certification 1,25,000 to 1,50,000. And these some APIDA reimbursement is there. APIDA under quality program, these international standards, 50% of the expenditure incurred on certification are 5 lakhs. Whichever is less, there is a quality scheme available under APIDA reimbursement.
And are there any mobile apps or platforms available for farmers to monitor quality?
No, mobile platforms that is not giving results. Actually, particularly farmers' problem is understanding that how to use those things. Even whether sensors and all these mobile apps and all, it is not yielding any results. So physical deployment on the farm is most important, particularly the sensors and other things. And then monitoring through that mobile app. See, first using that sensors and monitor through that mobile app what is happening. There are mobile apps available, particularly related to these use of sensors, those things. Moisturization and stores management.
Okay. How can FPOs use digital tools for aggregation, grading, and supply chain transparency?
For aggregation and this transportation and this FPO once post harvest is done. So there are a number of softwares are available to monitor the quantity of the harvested produce and post harvest losses, and actually how much aggregated from farmers level by the FPO and how much is sold, how much is in stock. This is available various softwares, provided you must enter into that data. Even some Zoho tools also can be used. How much quantity you have procured from each of the farmers, so what dates and where it is kept and when it is sold, all can be tagged.
What certifications or standards can be supported with digital systems like traceability compliance?
What? Can you repeat?
What certifications or standards can be supported through digital systems like traceability and compliance?
You see, every standard, particularly say any standard, whether it is a football singulator standard, whether it is on-farm production standard, traceability starts from the beginning. So the traceability is an important clause in any of the standards. Then compliance question comes. That is why there is a mechanism of implementation, mechanism of inspection, and the compliance level assessment. So once you implement a standard, you can establish the traceability. If there is no traceability in your implementation, then you cannot be certified. It is an inbuilt mechanism in each of the standards.
Okay. What are the key challenges in adapting? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the key challenges in adopting digital food safety solutions at the farmer level?
Yeah, key challenges is one is awareness of the requirements of the standard by the farmers. So how to implement? They don't understand where to start and how to implement, how to get the certification. That is the major challenge being faced by the farmers. First, understanding the requirement, implementing the requirement, and there are no consultants available in rural areas who knows the subject, and that is actually making the farmers not able to implement the standards. Only those farms run by the some postgraduates and who have retired and doing something, they are able to implement. So farmers level, that is the biggest challenge. Skills, they don't have skills, they don't understand what are the requirements. So unless somebody supports, like our platform also can see how to prepare the templates. If a farmer wants to implement NPO 24, what are the farmers' records to be maintained, including local languages. We have local languages in all farms related standards. So they can use that. Then this how to, if it is individual farmer, major only thing farmers records and soil test reports, water test reports. So they have to be educated, but another challenge for the farmers is how they can access digital tools. They are not able to access digital tools. They don't know how to access these digital tools. That is the challenge.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, Mr. Srihari, I don't see any more questions. So before we wind up, one last question. Please let us know a little about your career background and what made you to start this company.
Yeah. Earlier, actually, basically, I am a chartered accountant, but we started on a standard compliances because even in our CA, we look for compliances of the financial systems. Here, we look for compliances in quality management systems. So we started initially on these ISO standards in 97 through American Quality Assessors and had collaboration with US-based company. And we started in India these standards certification. Then 2002, we started FoodCert India, exclusively focusing on food safety standards certification. And we are the only one organization with the complete food supply chain standards accredited by a National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies and the Quality Council of India. And we also had collaborations with the Netherlands-based companies. And we certified several organizations in India, including Jain Irrigation, ITC, Taj Group, and covering across all the commodities, both at the farmers levels, even Mahendra Shubhalas and Deepak Fertilizers. They are all managing the lot of FPOs. So we actually entire India we operated because at that time no Indian organization was present in India covering these safety standards. So that we have been done, and 2016 that company was acquired by Tata Group, and then we started focusing on this how to build a digital related compliances towards ease of implementation and ease of certification. What is the best approach that can guide the whether the farmers organizations or food process to implement the standards with ease and with less expensive and in a scalable model. So that is how actually we trained almost all quality personnel in India when we were doing that FoodCert India. So across the India, and we have several experts associated during our inspection programs. So all that now we are engaging them to identify each of the standard, how best with ease of implementation this can be done. That is how made us to develop this global food safety and sustainability standard platform so that it can be scalable. And initially, because the standards are same, initially it can be focused in India, then it go to all other English-speaking countries because the standards are same. So it is like a fashion to see that how we can help digitally because future is digital and less expensive and far-reaching. So that can solve major across India.
Okay, that's very good to know. Okay, Mr. Srihari, so I don't see any more questions. So on behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I'd like to thank you for this meeting, for the presentation and answering all the questions. So we'll be ending this meeting now.
Yeah, so you will be putting up this video in YouTube and also your agricultureinformation.com.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.